Hey, InterVarsity alumni. This is After 4, your podcast for navigating life after graduation. This is both an exciting and potentially tricky transition that you're making, and you might feel a little unsure about the coming weeks and months. We're here to provide you with expert advice, practical skills, and plenty of encouragement as you learn how to keep saying yes to Jesus in your new context. This is After 4, and this podcast is for you, alumni. What's up, alumni? Welcome to After 4, your podcast for navigating life after graduation. I'm your host and guide, John Steele, and I'll be honest with you, this episode is a bit of a tease. We're not actually kicking off our first real episode of the year. Instead, I want to point you toward a different podcast just for this week, and that would be the brand new podcast that we're launching called InterVarsity World Changers. We touched on it back in our 100th episode at the end of last year. This podcast is going to celebrate God's world-changing work in and through alumni just like you. You're going to hear stories of the ways alumni are partnering with God across many diverse contexts, and no matter where you find yourself in this process, whether you're confidently partnering with God in your own sphere of influence or still trying to figure out God's invitation, I'm confident that you're going to be encouraged in your own world changer journey as a result of listening. So here's what's going to happen next. InterVarsity World Changers officially launched its first episode today. In just a minute, you're going to get to hear a 5-minute clip from that episode, and then you can follow the link in the show notes to go enjoy the whole episode. We'll release 3 more alumni interviews this week, and then 1 more next Wednesday. After that, you can enjoy a new episode on the 3rd Wednesday of each month moving forward. And just to clarify, I'm talking about InterVarsity World Changers, not After 4. After 4 will continue on a weekly release schedule. So, with all of that in mind, here is a clip of our very first interview on the brand new InterVarsity World Changers podcast. We're talking to Smiley Abrams, the founder of the Andy Abrams Foundation. And this one's for you, alumni. Smiley, you know as well as me that in the culture of InterVarsity, we talk about lives transformed, campuses renewed, world changers developed. And Here on this podcast, we would love to talk about any of those things, but we're going to lean into world changers developed.
Okay, all right.
What does it mean for an alum like you to be a world changer? And so as we define what an InterVarsity world changer looks like, this is the way that we lay it out. There's 2 main components, and that's first, someone that's had a formative experience with InterVarsity. Anybody can be a world changer, but to be an InterVarsity world changer, it helps to have had a formative experience with InterVarsity.
Absolutely.
And then the second piece of those 4 loves that we talk about with InterVarsity as well, the growing in love for God, in love for His Word, for His people of every ethnicity and culture, and in love with His purposes in the world. And so when we think about those things together, that's the foundation that we lay for what it looks like to talk about being an InterVarsity world changer. And Smiley, you are a world changer. God is using you to build His kingdom in the context that He has placed you in. So we've alluded to this already a little bit, but please, would you just give us a history here? What is the Andy Abrams Foundation, and where did it come from?
Yeah, thank you for that. It's weird as I equip people and tell people often that they are world changers. It's just definitely different to hear that someone says that about me. So,
well, it's true. Lest we forget, it's true.
So that's what my purpose. I really desire that. So, when I became the area director, I want as an area director does well, hire more people. Like that's part of the idea is like, I think this is a great job, and part of the work of an area director is to have more staff to serve the ministry and serve the mission. And so, as I was thinking about how the Lord sustained me over time to be in ministry for so long, it was really one way was that I inherited a property from my family, and I was able to rent that out, and I was able to use that beyond the challenges of fund development, fundraising. And so I saw that and I was like, what if I was able to create something that could help other people that don't have inheritance and maybe create something that can build some resources to help sustain ministry. And that's really where the vision came about of doing a discipleship house, to have a house where that can bring the resources to ministry work, But then also I was able to live in community at the Spencer Perkins Center with the John Perkins Foundation for a few years. And I used that time to build a lot of the work at Jackson State. And that I saw the impact of how community living both could help students long term, but also it built fellowship on campus. And so I'm like, you know what if I was able to do both at the same time? And so I ended up buying a property not too far from campus, which continues to still needs a whole new renovation completely. But when I bought the property, I began to pray over the space, and I was reminded of when I was a child. I grew up in the neighborhood. My dad was working with Voice of Calvary Ministries, which is the ministry that John Perkins founded, in the neighborhood, helping people to become first-time homeowners. I was around there every day. At 6 years old, my dad is helping people do this in the community, and I'm just observing it. So he passed away when I was 16. It's almost 21 years. And during that time, when I was a kid, I saw the impact that he made on lives. And of course, he made an impact on my life. He discipled me, poured a lot into me, and developed who I am as a leader. And so he never wrote a book, never published a book, never, wasn't a national speaker. And, most people won't know his name. But the impact that he made on me is transformational. And so part of the what I would desire to do is to honor him and his legacy that he made. And so I created a nonprofit in honor of him called the Andy Abrams Foundation. So that's his name, Andy Abrams.
Okay.
So it's after him. And me and my sister were thinking through ways to honor him well. And so that was part of what that was. And then the idea is that it's used to develop leaders, and really taking a lot of the principles from what I do in InterVarsity and just moving it to another level beyond the campus level. And that's pretty much what the purpose of it is to help transition, not necessarily just transition, but helping, whether it's recent alum or seniors in college, to move to another level in their own leadership.
All right, there you have it, your very first taste of the InterVarsity World Changers podcast. Go check out the show notes for links to the full episode, or search InterVarsity World Changers on your favorite podcast platform, and then consider subscribing for more stories from alumni world changers just like you. And then I'll see you right back here next week as we officially kick off our new series on After 4. It's designed to help you navigate many of the huge transitions that will happen in your relationships as a result of graduation. Lots of helpful guidance coming your way, so come back next week as we kick that off. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you in the after, alumni. Hey, thanks so much for joining us today, alumni. If there was anything that you learned, really enjoyed, or that encouraged you from today's episode, would you send us a DM or tag us in a story? We'd love to hear about it. You can find us at After4Pod on Instagram and Facebook. And if you haven't already, take just a second to unlock your phone and subscribe to the podcast. If your platform lets you, leave us a rating and a review. And if you like what we're doing here, share us with your InterVarsity or other post-graduation friends. Thanks again for listening, and I will see you in the after, alumni.